It is April 30th, 2011, and this is a video analysis presented by Birkenwood Reports at Tulane University. I am Jeffrey Blanchard, and today I will discuss Hornbeck Offshore Services. Hornbeck Offshore Services is located and headquartered in Covington, Louisiana. Hornbeck provides offshore supply vessels for transportation and services to the oil and gas industry in the Gulf of Mexico, as well as select international markets. The company also provides transportation for petroleum products in the Northeast USA, the Gulf of Mexico, and Puerto Rico. The company divides its operation into two primary segments. The upstream segment represents a fleet of large vessels that provide a comprehensive array of services in deep water and ultra-deep water energy. Hornbeck's vessels assist in everything from exploration and development to construction and maintenance of these offshore oil rigs. The downstream segment owns and operates ocean-going vessels for moving refined petroleum products. Hornbeck primarily provides its upstream services in the Gulf of Mexico. However, since the Macondo oil spill in April 2010, it has expanded its services internationally and holds contracts off the coast of Mexico and Brazil, amongst other areas. Here we have Hornbeck's stock performance over the last 5 years. As you can see, the price has steadily grown in the period until 2008-2009, around the time of the financial crisis and recession, where it hit an all-time low. However, this was a time when many stocks saw steep falls in their value. The price dipped again after the Macondo oil spill, but has begun to rise steadily, thanks in part to Hornbeck's high earnings as a result of participating in the cleanup efforts, and the gradual increase of new drilling licenses in the Gulf of Mexico in 2011. This chart shows a breakdown of Hornbeck's revenues by segment. As it demonstrates, the downstream segment has gradually dwindled over the years, while the company's upstream revenues have grown by leaps and bounds. This phenomenon is due to a couple of reasons. First, Hornbeck has gradually de-emphasized the more competitive downstream segment of its business and has sold off many of the tugs and tank barges that made up its downstream fleet. The company now only maintains a handful of double-hulled tank barges. Hornbeck has slowly built up its upstream segment as the focal point of its business. Todd Hornbeck emphasized the future of offshore service vessels would be large OSV and MPSV vessels that support deep-water drilling, and thus far the company's revenues have shown that he was likely right. Hornbeck is currently in a position that, at the right price, it would sell off its downstream fleet, or alternatively, for the right price, it would buy an existing downstream fleet to increase its market share in a very competitive market. These charts show Hornbeck's competitors and relative Gulf of Mexico market share in both the upstream and downstream market segments. As you can see, Hornbeck has a large share of the upstream market. The upstream Gulf of Mexico market is dominated by private companies, with Hornbeck's largest competitor, Edison West, owning 39% of the market share. Hornbeck's largest public upstream competitor is Tidewater, which operates all over the world. The downstream market segment has several competitors, most of them only having a small market share. Here we have a breakdown of the stock ownership. The company's stock is mainly owned by institutional investors, which may lead to excess demand as the liquidating of supply in the market by these institutions has been relatively low. Insiders hold roughly 16% of share ownership as of February 2011. Todd Hornbeck, CEO, is the only individual investor in the top 11 shareholders, the others being institutions. On February 18th, 2011, my team visited Hornbeck's headquarters in Covington, Louisiana. There we met with Executive Vice President and CFO James Harp, as well as President and CEO Todd Hornbeck. They mentioned that the company was in strong financial position, but they were deeply concerned about the current regulatory risks in the post-Macondo Gulf of Mexico. Management also mentioned that Hornbeck was involved in litigation against the federal government over the lack of new permit issuances. They had actually won several judgments thus far. The company does have some risks, but most notably, it provides support services to an industry that has a very cyclical business environment. Most importantly, the risk and uncertainty of the regulatory environment in the Gulf of Mexico after the Macondo oil spill in 2010 continues to be a source of uncertainty. Since then, drilling in the Gulf has been pretty much shut down by the federal government, which has eliminated the main source of Hornbeck's revenues. However, since we started covering Hornbeck in January, 7 new drilling permits were issued by the government, which has pushed Hornbeck's stock price up. Many believe that Hornbeck will emerge as a major player when regular deep-water drilling resumes in the Gulf. We used a weighted average of price to book value and enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, depreciation and amortization, and a discounted cash flow model to predict the one-year stock price for Hornbeck Offshore Services. We projected it to be $35. We heavily weighed our price to book value valuation because the projected earnings for 2011 were unusually low for Hornbeck due to non-recurring events. Our discounted cash flow model was weighted low due to the difficulty of projecting future cash flow based on the historic variability the company has seen. As you see, due to the current lack of activity in the Gulf of Mexico, we estimate lower than usual revenues for Hornbeck in 2011. However, we forecast revenues will jump as soon as more permits are issued in the Gulf, eventually surpassing the company's 2008 high. Overall, we estimate a stock price of $35 1 year from now, which will have an implied return of about 11.5% over where the stock was at the time of our report. This will give Hornbeck's stock a market perform rating from April 2011 to April 2012. Thanks for listening. This has been Jeff Blanchard for Burke & Road Reports at Tulane University. Burke & Road Reports are produced solely as part of an educational program at Tulane University's Freeman School of Business. The reports are not intended as investment advice, and you should not rely on them in making any investment decision. You should consult an investment professional and/or consult your own primary research regarding any potential investment.